when I'm doing this. Am I supposed to talk loudly? Yeah, where am I supposed to look? Okay, I'm just gonna pretend that there's not cameras. I'm just gonna tell you my life story, okay? I'm from Nebraska in the United States of America, and I was adopted from South Korea when I was 6 months old. And the family that adopted me, they're just a tad bit dysfunctional. I have two brothers, an older brother who is also adopted from South Korea, and then a younger brother. And there was just a lot of mental abuse and stuff that was going on at home. So growing up in that kind of environment just caused me to have like little to none self-esteem. Because I was adopted from Korea and I lived in a predominantly white area, I was bullied a lot just because I looked different and I acted differently because of my upbringing and everything. And things just got so bad in the house that when I was 15 years old, I had to move out of my parents' home, and I moved into my pastor and his family's house. And I lived with them for 2 years, and it was wonderful. When I moved in there, like, I didn't even know that families sat down and had dinner together, and the parents genuinely wanted to know about how your day was at school, and they would come and tell you goodnight before you went to bed. There's just like a whole new world, and it was super exciting because I didn't even know that existed. I thought it was just something that people made up in movies and was in some far-off fairy tale that I desperately wanted to be a part of. I lived with them for 2 years, and then just circumstances happened, and my mom, she would always like drive past the house and everything, and I would be terrified of even going outside or terrified of going to school sometimes because I didn't know if she would be in the school or something. Because whenever she would see me, she would always come up to me and be like, hey, you're the reason that you had to move out. And so she would always just bring back the blame and put it on my shoulders. If I cried, it showed weakness, and if I let out any emotion, it was bad, and I was being a bad Christian. So I just kept everything bottled up and everything, and it led to, I was driving home from youth group, and it was just one of those days where I just had it, and so I turned off the lights to my car, and I was driving ridiculously fast. And I was gonna drive off the side of the road into this canyon because I just assumed that no one would miss me, no one would even notice, no one truly cared. And I mean, had been told my whole life that I was never going to amount to anything, and that I was never going to do anything for society to make it become better or anything. I would just be wasting air. That I just believed that truly, and so I just thought no one would ever miss me. So, but as I was trying to turn my wheel in my car, it locked and I couldn't turn it. And that was definitely a God thing because my car was running perfectly fine. My youth group, they actually, we decided to go on a mission trip to Peru. And I've loved traveling my entire life. Like, I've always wanted to travel, but the root of that was like I wanted to travel to get out and away from my family situation and everything. One of the first things we did was climb this mountain of sand. And when I say a mountain of sand, I literally mean like a huge mountain made of sand. And we were gonna go sandboarding. And so as we were climbing this mountain of sand, there was these kids who were like 8, and they ran all the way up to the top, and I was still like halfway, like really close to the bottom. And there was like these 40-year-old men who were fine, and they were just going hard, and I was just dying. And some of the leaders who were running our missions trip, they were yelling down, and they were saying, walk in the footprints that have already been made for you. It makes the whole process easier. And in my mind, I was like rebellious. I was so rebellious, like, no, I'm gonna walk over here and I'm gonna forge my own pathway. And that's just like, it's exactly what I was doing with my life. I was like, yeah, like, God, maybe you have a good plan for me, but I'm not gonna listen to anything. And it seems like you've never had any interest in my life, so I'm just gonna go off and do my own thing. And I was dying. I had like 3/4 of the way up. I had to take a break, and I just sat down by myself. And I looked out, and all of a sudden the sun came out of nowhere. And it just seemed to shine exactly where I was sitting. And I looked out and I started sobbing, and this was like the first time I had cried in a good 2 years because I had shut my emotions off. And so I sat there and I cried, and I just realized that like I was broken and I needed something. Just sitting there on that mountain and actually crying and allowing myself to feel all the pain that I'd been bottling up for like the last 16 years of my life just was really healing. It was more healing than I realized right in that moment. I can actually look in someone else's eyes and say, I'm beautiful and I have a purpose, and I may not know what's going on right now, and God may not be answering the questions that I have in a way that I would like, but His timing is perfect, and He's going to reveal what I have, what my life purpose is, and along that way He's holding my hands, and He's never left my side. Even in the times where I was crying myself to sleep and where I felt the most lonely, He was still there holding my hand. And I still say, thanks, Mom, for adopting me from South Korea. Thank you for doing an amazing job even when you don't think you're doing an amazing job.